Hi, and welcome to Eat Well with Parkinson's. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Paula.
We will be your hosts today. Great to be here. Let's say hello and thank you to our live audience guests. We love having them. And they do get to sample these amazing dishes that we make on this TV program. So if you want to join us, please reach out. We'd love to have you. Wow, it's great to be back. It's been a while.
It's been a while, but you know we're enjoying what we're doing, so we're happy to be back.
Yeah, so before we jump into things, I did want to just take a moment to explain to our guests here in the studio with us, as well as folk who are watching at home, why eat well with Parkinson's? It's a question that I get a lot from folk. Parkinson's disease is the fastest growing neurodegenerative brain disorder worldwide. They estimate that the rates of Parkinson's disease have doubled in the past 20 years, and they're going to double again in the next 20 years. So the chances that we know someone living with Parkinson's disease are pretty good and increasing. The rates of PD are definitely increasing. There's no known cure, but there are evolving medications, medical treatments, and I think a growing awareness of the importance of regular exercise, sleep, stress reduction, and of course,
nutrition.
That's
why I'm here.
So yeah, we're one piece of the puzzle of trying to help people living with Parkinson's disease to live well and to live well long. So that is why we are here. And I will say, just with an asterisk, that I think that the information we share on this show and the recipes that we share really can benefit anybody and are good for all of us.
I agree. Yes, I agree. And that's why we create the recipes. We're trying to create things that are flavorful, healthy, but easy. You know, there's lots going on.
Too. All of these recipes fit into a 30-minute segment. So that's
the best
good for weeknight cooking as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Paula, what are we doing today?
So today we are going to make some fish.
Okay.
And when I started researching and studying what recipe to make, I wanted to make it so simple that you can use any fish that you have available. And you can do this with scallops or shrimp as well. So any fish. And you can adapt any extra sides or vegetables. We're just going to talk about the fish and an easy, tasty fish recipe. But we're going to talk about it. I keep looking at Sarah, but I should look at you guys.
That's true. So I have to confess, I grew up in Indiana. We did not have access to fresh seafood or fish growing up. And I'm still nervous when it comes to cooking with fish. So you're going to teach us today how to cook it. But are there certain fish that go well with this recipe, or if we needed to make substitutions?
You can substitute. You want to just make a nice fish that has a little bit of thickness to it, but sometimes you can't really get that much thickness, so you just have to watch how it cooks.
Okay.
And also just what's available. I'm very big proponent of local, so we have local fluke, which is also known as flounder. Yeah. There's also, local scallops. So local tuna. If you're lucky enough to find someone to catch it for you, that's even better. My son's fish in the ocean, so we get fresh fish in the summer. And the whole thing is, we're going to have a few secret ingredients, even though there's very few ingredients that make you want to taste it because it's going to be flavorful.
Delicious.
So.
Okay. Why is fish so good for us?
So fish is really good for us because it has omega oils in it, and there's one reason it has the omega-rich 3 oils, not the omega-6. That's more of the processed kind of foods, and some foods have natural omega-6, but we're looking to try and up the omega-3.
Omega-3.
And the reason why that's so important, it is important for brain health. Okay, brain health and anti-inflammation is our key concept today that we're talking about. When I talk about people with Parkinson's disease, I want them to address chronic inflammation in everything that they purchase, put in their mouth. So inflammation is a big, big deal for us.
So the foods that we choose to eat, and I'm guessing that the opposite is also true, that the foods that we choose not to eat can actually affect inflammation in our body?
Yes.
How does that work?
Well, it works because, first of all, what is inflammation? Inflammation is you sprain your ankle and the oxygen, the nutrition, the body's autoimmune helpers rush to the area to heal it.
Okay.
When we have issues with chronic illness, we have the body trying to constantly heal and send out its messengers. So we take that, and with Parkinson's, we have brain inflammation and we have gut inflammation. So when we have those two things combined, we have to try and change the ratio of what we're eating to try and reduce the inflammation in the body, okay? Anything that we do for the gut, and anything we do in the brain affects the gut, okay?
And vice versa, yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
So when we talk about adding foods that are natural, whole foods, no extra ingredients, when we talk about those kinds of foods, we are having foods that are lower inflammation. So those colorful fruits and vegetables is one thing. The non-processed type of foods or less ingredients is another thing. So when we make a recipe and we're using whole asparagus and whole tomatoes, that's not a processed item.
Okay.
But the more the processed item in and the more that ingredient list goes from 1 to maybe 20 or 30.
And you don't recognize
We don't
many
recognize
of the
them.
ingredients.
We can't pronounce them. Then
Right.
those are things that the body doesn't recognize either. When the body doesn't recognize it, there's some inflammation going on. And that's what happens is the body is like, what is this? I want to get rid of it. And that's inflammation, and that's the complication. So I'm just going to put a little oil in the pan to heat
I have
it
one
up.
more question, and I don't know if this even makes sense, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is it an all or nothing type situation that I can't, like I shouldn't eat potato chips because they're inflammatory, or other foods that might increase inflammation, or do you just sort of do the best you can? Do you know what I'm trying to ask
Yeah, so
here?
it's kind of like that 80-20 rule.
Okay.
At least. Okay, and we were talking about this before. It's kind of like I have this ideal diet that I want you to follow. But we
Okay.
also have our life, and we have parties, and we have birthdays and celebrations, and we have, I just feel like eating it because I want to eat my chocolate.
Yes.
It's kind of like when we have those moments, then we have to kind of say to ourselves, okay, I'm going to be really, really good 80% of the time, but I'm going out on Friday night, and I want to choose whatever I want.
Okay,
So
I
that's
love
the whole
that.
thing.
It feels more
And
manageable.
But if you're saying that potato chips is the only thing that satisfies me and I'm having them every night, then that's where I kind of get concerned. Okay. So
All right.
we're making a fish.
Yep.
This is a local fluke. And we're gonna just salt it on both sides.
And you've got a little bit of olive oil in the
We got the
pan.
pan.
I did put the temperature down. Should I put it
Yeah,
back
no,
up?
no, it's okay. Well, the pan needs to be on medium.
Yeah, I think
okay?
put it up a little bit.
So so we're just gonna salt and pepper both
Okay.
sides just to give it a little bit of flavor. So this is a really simple recipe. It's just some butter, fresh herbs, lemon juice. We're gonna throw a little tomatoes in for
Okay.
color. I'm gonna put the 2 pieces down, and we're hearing a sizzle, so we know that's good.
Perfect.
Now, the magic of fish cooking is understanding that when the fish moves in the pan, not jumping like fish, but when the fish moves in the pan, that means it's ready to flip. Okay, so if you, and the same goes for chicken. If you're cooking on the grill and
Yeah.
the chicken is stuck or the meat is stuck,
Oh,
that means
that's a
it's not done
great
cooking.
tip. So if you slide the spatula underneath it and it moves easily, you know it's ready to flip.
Yeah, or if it moves easily in the pan. So this is a
that.
medium-high heat pan.
Okay.
And we're gonna cook it. The other thing about knowing when fish is done, you can see the sides of it are starting to get opaque. And a thicker fish, you're gonna be cooking the width of the fish, you're gonna be cooking that. You're gonna get opaque on the bottom,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna flip it, and the fish is gonna start to cook into the fish.
Okay.
Okay, so the thicker the fish,
The longer on each side.
yeah, a thick piece of fish, it could be like up to 8 minutes
Yeah.
total. But this is a quick, thin fish, so it's not gonna be as much.
Okay.
But you can go along and you're gonna just check. And you can kind of see it's still
Yeah.
sicking sour, so it's
Yeah.
not really ready to move. Okay.
So Paula, are there some fish that are higher in those healthy omega-3s that we're looking to increase in our diet?
Yeah, the salmon is the highest.
Okay.
So we want to look for the salmon that is, the more of the Pacific Ocean
Okay.
kind of, or the Norwegian salmon kind of thing. So
Okay.
we want to look for that. But just getting salmon is better.
It's good.
Okay, so it doesn't really matter where it comes from because the salmon is going to give you omega oils in it.
And could we cook salmon this way?
Yes, we can cook salmon this way.
Great.
I like to make my scallops this way.
Okay.
Shrimp without the shells, you can do this way.
Okay.
And what you're doing is you're just trying to cook it to doneness, but it's going to cook because it's cooking together from both sides. It's going to cook a little bit when you put it on the pan
Okay.
out of the pan as well. Okay, so I'm just going to cook it. It's still sticking a little bit. The problem is too that this pan, this fish is very
heats
thin.
differently,
This fish
yeah.
is very thin, so you can see it's already starting look how easy it's picking up a little
Yeah.
bit. But I'm getting anxious, so I'm gonna leave it one more minute.
Okay.
Let it stay a little bit more minute. But you might need to use a little bit extra oil on it, just to kind of give it a little bit of movement as well. So, and we're using olive oil.
Okay.
You can use avocado oil as well, and the avocado oil is great because what we're trying to do is we're trying to change that ratio over and get rid of the processed
seed
oils,
oils.
the seed oils.
Okay.
So the avocado's oil is great for cooking, and the olive oil.
Okay.
And the other reason why olive oil is the highlight of the Mediterranean mind diet because it's very high in polyphenols, and polyphenols are the good chemicals in plants that end up being good chemicals in our body when we eat them. All right, so this little skinny one looks like it might be done. I'm just going to check it again. And I'm giving it a little help only because we want to make sure we meet the time, but it's going to stick a little bit, and you're just going to cook it a little bit more. Okay.
I am really excited to have a weeknight recipe for fish.
Yeah.
This is great.
And you can see it's moving a little bit easier.
Yeah.
It is sticking a little bit, but those bits are still going to be part of our sauce, so
Okay.
it's okay. Okay. So one of the things I talk about is we talk about anti-inflammation diet. We touched a little
Yeah.
bit on it, but that whole processed food, additives, dyes, preservatives,
Yeah.
refined sugars, refined flours, those are very, very inflammatory, and
Yeah.
those are the ones that we're trying to put in it.
You mentioned that connection between the gut and the brain. Could you explain that a little bit?
Okay. I am going to flip this because this one, even though it's
That one's
sticking a
done.
little bit,
Yeah.
it looks like it's getting very close to done. Okay, so, and it falls apart a little bit. Okay. So the gut-brain connection, it's the gut. The gut is not like Vegas. What happens in the gut does not stay in the gut, like Vegas. So when we talk about gut health and we talk about a lot of processed food, a lot of sugar in our diet, we're talking about inflammation in the gut lining, but we're also talking about feeding the bad bugs or the bad microbiome. So there's good microbiome is our healthy, good
Gotcha.
bacteria and our good bugs. When we have the bad bugs build up because we're giving it a lot of processed food or a lot of
Yeah.
sugar, that's really not good.
Yeah.
And when we have that, sometimes people with Parkinson's disease also have constipation.
Okay.
So that doesn't help with our constipation. And surprisingly, bad diets and high sugar diets don't help with our mood and our anxiety level. So when we have someone that's suffering from anxiety or mental illness, which is not what we're talking about in terms of mental illness, depression, anxiety, also helps with good gut health. So sometimes we look to try and help improve people's gut health by changing their diet and putting some good probiotic foods in. So that's in one of our
And I will
other
say that
talks.
depression and anxiety can be primary symptoms of Parkinson's disease, so it's
Okay.
not totally unrelated.
So now see how that moves really easy
Yeah.
this side? Okay. Wow, that one did that much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I waited a little bit longer. I wasn't so
Patience.
anxious. Okay. Okay. So now we're gonna flip it.
All right.
Okay.
How
So-
can you tell when it's done? What are you
Okay, so
looking
what
for?
we're looking for is we're looking for when you touch it that it feels a little firm. So it's still a little soft. You know, when you make steaks and stuff, you look for different parts of your hand
Yeah.
for the different thickness. So you want it just to be a little firm. If you had a thermometer in a thicker piece,
Yeah.
you would look for 145 degrees.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
So now that I flipped it, I'm going to add my butter.
Whoa. Paula, I feel like I've heard you say
Yes.
that we are trying to decrease saturated fats.
Yes,
What's the
we
deal
are.
with the butter?
Okay, so one of the things that when we look at the Mediterranean and the mind diet, so we're just gonna melt the butter, even though
Okay.
we're not using a lot of butter. So this was
How
a
much
very
was
small
that?
amount. This was 2 tablespoons.
Okay.
So each piece of fish has about 1 tablespoon going. When we look at chefs.
It makes it smell so good.
Yeah. When I look at chefs and
Yeah.
cooking, and I was looking at one of the local chefs on Long Island, I was looking and he was like, he makes it with butter. And he makes his fish taste great. And you go to a restaurant and the fish tastes great because they use butter in it. And if you have someone that's on the fence about eating fish, you
This
want
is
to
a
give them
great
a
way
little
to
bit
do
of
it.
butter.
I
Yep.
love it.
And when we look at what
I'm
diets,
sold. Yeah.
when we look at what diets we're talking about, you can have about 1 tablespoon of butter a day. So the day
Okay.
you're having fish with the butter, maybe have avocado toast
Okay.
instead of butter on your toast.
Or
Can
almond
you
butter or
hand me one of
something.
those spoons?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, so what you're gonna do, and if you ever watch a cooking show, they'll have a little bit of basting going on, and they're gonna baste your fish with the butter. And what that does is it gives the flavor,
It's so
and
good.
it smells good. Okay, so you're just gonna baste it a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's do our little bit of test and see if it's moving yet. Nope, it's not moving yet, so a little bit more.
I wonder if I should put the heat up a little bit for you.
No,
You're good?
I'd rather go a little bit of slower, okay, because that's the point. The point is it will be done cooking when
And
you
you probably don't want to burn the butter either.
don't want to burn the butter, but it's kind of low enough and slow enough. Okay, and the other thing is I'm trying to make this a little bit more eye appealing too, so we're going to add some colorful tomatoes. And now, and we're going to serve it with a little bit of asparagus, but you don't have to do that. You want to have every meal you present something that looks beautiful, and that's the whole thing, or just looks eye appealing. Okay, because my fish might fall apart here. So okay, so it's moving a little bit. We're just going to give it 1 more minute. It is thin. Okay. So
I wonder while this cooks, if you want, do you want to leave this with me and get started on our?
actually, I think I'm going to take this out. 'Cause
Okay.
It's moving now. See, it's falling apart, so it's moving.
All right.
I'm going to take it out, and we're just going to be done with this recipe in 2 shakes. You can kind of get the dessert out of the refrigerator and get
You got it.
our
Get started.
blender available for us.
Yeah.
Okay. So the last step I'm going to do with the fish is see it did stick a little bit, so it probably could use a little bit more cooking. I'm going to scrape the bits on the bottom, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of lemon juice. Okay, so this is all the sauces, lemon juice,
And that little bit of butter that's
and that
still
little
in
bit
the
of butter
pan.
that's still there. I see 1 pit in there. Okay, you can add half if you want. I'm going to add the whole thing because
Okay.
there's 2 pieces of fish. And we're also going to put these tomatoes in, and we're going to allow them to kind of cook up a little bit.
Do you have a recommendation how many times a week we should try to eat fish?
You know, that's a great question.
Thank you.
Because-
It wasn't even pre-planned.
So I think of fish, we think of the Mediterranean diets as
Yeah.
3 times a week.
Okay.
When they did research on the Mediterranean mind diet, and the actual mind diet recommendation is once a week.
Oh.
But the very
okay.
interesting thing they did and they looked at for this kind of situation when we're studying mind diet, we're studying it for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, depression, anxiety. One serving was enough.
Okay.
But they also said that the average person considers 1 serving of fried shrimp the answer. And that's not the answer, because
That's-
that's the
okay.
fried oils.
Okay.
So then what we're going to do is we're just going to take this fish back in. We're going to give this a little chance to cook offline, and
Okay.
we're going to go to our other recipe. Okay. Okay.
I do love the tomatoes. It really does.
It does make it.
Yeah, in our last episode, we were talking about food apathy, and one of the tips and tricks to stimulate appetite was to make sure our food is visually appealing as well
Okay,
as
and why don't you
delicious.
grab the herbs, and we'll just put
You
the
got
herbs
it.
on top. Okay.
And what do you have here? Parsley?
This is parsley and dill,
And dill.
and you notice that gives a little bit of color and appeal too. So
Yeah,
that's what you
smells good.
want. You want a healthy meal, you want something tasty, you want that butter, because butter has
Yeah.
a little bit of the saturated fat, but the mouthfeel and the taste that we crave.
Yeah.
The healthy type. Okay, so we have a few more minutes. We're just
Love
gonna
it.
go to our other recipe.
I'm just going to turn this off.
Turn that off, put it to the
Okay.
back of the pan. We're gonna make a chocolate mousse.
Great,
And this
let's
is
do it.
a simple recipe. And what this is combining I have fish hands, I gotta switch.
You got it?
That one, yeah. What we're gonna do is we're gonna combine silken tofu with milk. So this is a plant-based milk. We were talking about using dairy in food
Yeah.
items, and when we're talking about reducing that saturated fat, it's so wonderful that there's so many products on the market
Yeah.
that are lower in saturated fat because they're plant-based.
Yeah.
Okay, and this doesn't mean that you need to go all extreme in plant-based, but because there's so many choices, a great choice for someone with Parkinson's disease would be start trying
Like
some
an
almond milk. You can even try a soy or some coconut milk.
So I have a question I've wanted to ask for a long time, and it's going to put you on the spot. Is that okay?
Yeah, I guess so.
So we talk about avoiding processed foods, and I feel like plant-based milk are processed foods.
It is processed. That's a very good point. So you want to look for at least something that doesn't have a lot of I think I'm gonna have to lift it to get that.
Yeah.
A lot of ingredients, and you want to make sure there's no added sugars. And some of
Gotcha.
the milks out there, when you look at the almond milk, the soy milk, the oat milk, they have all this extra fat.
Yeah.
And those are the bad seed oil fat. So you want to stay away from the seed
So
oil
no
fat.
added sugar, no added fat.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the other thing, honestly, is if you want to make this dessert and you want to use regular milk,
Yeah.
that's an option too.
Yeah.
We're trying to reduce the saturated fat. But if you're a
Okay.
big cheese eater, then you might want to, try this. So this is actually, it has some tofu in it, some silken tofu. It has two cups of milk, the plant-based milk. It has the tofu in it, and it has maple syrup. So it has a maple syrup for sweetener, so we're using a pure maple syrup instead of a fake.
And the tofu is chopped. Do you have to rinse it or dry it or
No,
anything?
you can just put it in. And it has some cacao powder.
Okay.
And what that is, it's making a nice chocolatey dessert, and that's one of the things I feel like everybody wants is chocolate.
Always.
Always. I don't know if we need to use this. This is your blender, so you
I lost
It's
the
fine.
cap.
Yeah.
All right. So put it here.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make a creamy texture with the pudding.
It's going to get really loud for a second.
Okay, so you put it on high for 2 minutes. So
All right,
put it on
ready?
high for 2 minutes. Yeah. You have
All right.
Okay.
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, so that's good. So one of the magics of this recipe is we're
Mm-hmm.
using what we call chia seeds.
What are
So
chia
these are
seeds?
tiny little seeds.
Okay.
And what happens with these seeds, they congeal or they blow up.
So it creates the thickness?
Creates the thickness of the pudding.
love that.
Okay, so we're just gonna put, this is a 1/4 cup of
And what
chia
health
seeds.
benefits do they have?
They have the omega oils in it that we're talking
I
about.
love that.
Okay, so because they have the omega oils in it,
Yeah.
you don't really need to even do this in the blender, you could do this in the bowl.
Okay.
And what you're gonna do is you're gonna
So
whip
this is
it up.
pre-made.
This is pre-made. So what you're gonna do
Yeah.
is you're gonna whip it in this bowl,
Okay.
and you're just gonna distribute the seeds. And I'm gonna get that spatula.
Here, I'll grab it for you.
And what you're gonna do is you're gonna let this rest, and when it rests, the seeds are gonna expand, and it's gonna get that texture that we're talking about over there. So let's kind of move right to that one, because we're
All right,
running
let's do
low
it.
on time.
And is this ready to serve, Paula?
It is ready to serve, but you might wanna,
Give it a stir.
Give it a stir, and you might wanna use the whisk from here for
Would be
that.
great. So this is one that was made previously, and you can see that it is nice and thick. I guess if I bring it over here just for a second and put it underneath the camera, you can see that it's thickened up. That's from the chia seeds.
Yes, that's all the chia seeds, yes.
Amazing.
And
All right,
most recipes use a 1-to-4 ratio for 1 tablespoon of chia seeds to a cup of milk.
So if this was
Oh,
hard
actually, no,
for
excuse
someone,
me, it's
yeah,
it's 1/4 cup chia seeds per cup of milk. But
Gotcha.
it also can be adapted to what you like as well. So if
If you had difficulty swallowing or chewing, that you could
you
thin
can
it
thin
a
it
little
out
bit.
a little bit. So again, sorry about that. It's 1/4 per. So this is 2 cups of milk in the recipe, and that's a 1/2 cup of chia seeds.
And I'm gonna garnish. We have some raspberries. Put a couple chocolate chips, on top. A couple blueberries. Paula, I know we only have a couple minutes left, but can you talk to us about these delicious, amazing blueberries? What health benefits do they bring to a
Okay,
dessert
so
like this?
any kind of berry is better for us because they have what we call the, blueberries have anthocyanins in them. So
Okay.
those are one of our antioxidants that are really powerful for our brain.
Okay,
And berries are also lower in sugar, so they give us that sweet
Oh,
punch
great.
without being as high in sugar. And when they're not as high in sugar, we're not going to get that insulin challenge too. So our brains, as we age, sometimes our brains do not respond to sugar as well. So you want to have lower sugar diet because we have something called insulin resistance. And when we have insulin resistance, we're worried about very high sugar diets or very high fluctuations in sugar. Okay, so I guess we have to taste the fish before we taste
The sweets?
The
Are you
sweets.
sure? Just kidding.
we only have 1 minute left, so you can taste
man.
whatever you want, man. You can taste whatever you want. I don't even know if we have a fork.
Yeah, I think actually, let me see what I can find
Okay.
here. There's a fork in here.
Okay, and again, I just plated, this could be a simple meal, and then you'll have room for dessert.
Oh,
If you
it's
like.
so beautiful, Paula.
It looks great, it looks great.
Here, and I'm gonna grab us a little plate too, so that we can share that with people.
Okay,
Here, you wanna put a little bit on there, and you and
Yeah.
I'll sample it from this plate?
yeah, okay, okay. So the other thing to remember about fish is that there's bones. So you have to really, really, really make sure that you chew it and you acknowledge if there's a bone in it, then you take the bone out. Okay,
All right,
okay.
cheers.
Cheers. Okay.
It's amazing. It's so good.
Does it taste fishy?
No, not at all,
Yeah.
not at all.
And you taste that butter, but you also just
Yeah.
taste the herbs and
And the tomatoes are delicious.
yeah.
Thank you,
It
Paula.
just adds that color. Okay.
It's so good. Okay, we've got our dessert.
Oh, there's spoons right here.
Yeah.
Okay. So now the dessert, we're trying to go for like a nice pudding,
Okay.
and we want that texture of that chocolatey flavor. So you got to tell me, is this something that would satisfy your
My
chocolate?
sweet tooth.
The chocolate.
So I
sweet
can tell you that it's a great pudding consistency. I can tell that right away.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Oh.
And I'm guessing we only have a few seconds here, but I'm guessing that the tofu also adds a little bit of protein.
Mm-hmm.
It's delicious.
It
Yeah.
adds the protein, it adds that creamy consistency, but you also can use something like a yogurt
Yeah.
if you want.
This has been amazing. Thank you so much. We're out of time.
That's great.
Eating well.
Tastes
Tastes great.
great.
Join us next time. Thank you. Bye.
I think we're off. Right.